We are here. Welcome, welcome. Oh, that's your Blue Sky. Everybody go reach out to Kelsey over on Blue Sky, by the way. Shout out to the man himself, Kelsey Hightower. It's great to see you. How was your week? Give us an introduction, too, while you're at it.
Oh, my
Whew.
week is fantastic. I have the privilege of not having to keep up with what day it is, so that's always dope. Introduction, I think a lot of people know me from my cloud and the container days with Kubernetes. I've been in this game for a long time, started my career in 1999, and I kind of seen some of the hype cycles, the dot-com, the DevOps, the ops. I remember when Linux was battling it out against Solaris for domination of your server operating system. So it's been cool to kind of watch the game evolve, all the AI stuff, everything. So happy to be here.
I love that. Thank you. And it's an honor to have you here. We're going to be looking at some resumes today. What's one thing you look for? And I guess in your career, you've probably seen a few resumes come across your desk in your time. Like, what's one trend that you've seen now that people are kind of missing on their resumes that they might not be getting hired over?
I'm going to be clear. I am no resume expert. I have this phrase that I say that I think your best resume is your reputation. And I get when people are first starting out, that's not necessarily true for them because the game is a little different. When I started early in my career, we read the resume. And for me, I read the resume with empathy. I read the resume like it's my resume, and I'm trying to figure out how to feed my family. I'm trying to figure out how to break into the industry. So when I read that name, I'm thinking about a real person that has put their best effort forward. And when I read that resume, it's like I'm trying to honor that work that they've done. And some people are just hoping and praying that they get that shot. And so when I read a resume, that's what I'm thinking about. But I understand today you got it where everything is fully automated. Humans aren't even reading resumes. It's just everything is like placating to the algorithm. And I saw that in the early days when all the job boards started coming out, like, all the job forums. I remember that was a big thing. And it was great for the person applying because you get to see a lot more things than you would see in your local area. But then it became this thing where you started to gamify your resume to appease the algorithm, hoping that as you uploaded it, all the keywords would match. And now we got AI algorithms pouring over these resumes. So I think the thing maybe people are not understanding is that I guess resumes these days are written for the machines before they're written for people. And I
Oof.
wouldn't necessarily ding the candidates as much as I would say if you're a person that is interviewing or hiring someone, maybe don't miss out on the part that that's a real person trying their best to appease the algorithm and then hopefully you to give them their shot. So that's probably the big thing. Resumes should be for people, but unfortunately, they're being built for machines.
Yeah, I love that point and I love that take on it because I think that that's something over the last couple episodes we've been focusing on. We've been looking at how the people are telling their story, but also getting in front of the machine. And I think that that's something that we're missing a lot of is that like human element of it. And that's kind of why I like what we do over at Torque, just shameless plug. We have a whole matching team that's still people. So they are looking at these things. And I do like the importance of a narrative, like telling your story, telling your journey. So I love that you brought that up. Let's see how our potential candidates do today. If everybody remembers, we do have our resume rate.lovable/rate. You can head over there on your phone and get engaged with what we're going to be doing here. But let's bring up our first resume. Let's figure out if I can remember how to use my own thing here. Beauty. Here we go. Coming up. Perfect. All right. So we will start right at the top. Paladin, Broly, Planet Vegeta. Okay, nice. It's Torque community on Discord. I love that. How do you assess a professional summary? What is something that you're kind of looking for in this, Kelsey?
Man, this is tough because I'm going to be one of those people, like I said, I read these
Yeah.
resumes intently. So the
Yeah.
first thing I do is look at the email handle
Ooh, okay.
and be like, that fake. And it's like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like to me, like if I
Yeah.
see your email handles like out for damage at gmail.com, I'm like, I don't know how serious you want me to take you right now. I prefer people to kind of use something closer to, their real name or something like that. I get that times may be different, but I'm thinking about you as a real person.
Hmm.
So if I see like, I don't know, dot fake, I'm thinking to myself, like, there's a lot of domain names out there that you could have chosen. You actually went the extra mile to get that one. That one's a little tough. So that's the first line that I'm
Yeah.
kind of looking at there, saying, I don't know how serious you want me to take you, but look, I'm not going to ding you 100%. So when we get to the professional summary, I'm kind of closing my eyes and it's like, all right, you're not going to be able to tell me the whole story. There's not enough space here. So with the 2 or 3 sentences that you choose, where are you going to tell me? So let's maybe, I don't know if you all read it, experience, Syrian developer, engineer with 4+ years developing scalable web application, backend systems, proven track record of improving deployment efficiency, operational performance while mentoring junior developers, active contributor to Planet Vega tech community with expertise in full stack development and modern DevOps practices. So honestly, I look at that and say, all right, I don't know if I learned a lot from that. I do like the part where it's like I'm cool mentoring junior developers. So that tells me this person may have the concept of a team. He knows that everyone's not going to be at the same skill level, and it's kind of required for people with a little bit more experience to be willing to mentor other people. So to me, that's screaming big plus. Like, you know what? If I'm hiring manager, I'm trying to balance out my team. I like that one line stands out a lot. But then I think with 4 years experience developing a skill app, I don't know if I'm putting the 4+ years
Why
because
is that? Talk to us
because
about that.
4 seems low, right? Because sometimes I think the number of years doesn't quite accurately reflect someone's skill set. Because I've seen people with 20 years of 1 year experience. So the year thing kind of throws me off sometimes. So it's like, hey, if you pull out the year, just say, hey, I'm a software engineer with experience developing blah blah blah. So now I'm not going to limit you. I'm not going to try to judge because when you put 4+ years, I'm like, okay, junior. I'm thinking in my brain, junior. This person's just getting started, and unfortunately, it's just like that number just forces me down a certain lane versus
Yeah.
20 years, right? But then you kind of make up for with the willing to mentor junior developers. But now we got this conflict going on with the 4+ years of experience and then the mentoring line.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up because we've seen it. We've seen different verbiage in the professional summary that almost kind of kind of shoots you in the foot in a sense because now I'm immediately framing the rest of your resume based on that first sentence. So I think it's really important how you leverage those things, and it's the nuances like that that again are kind of putting you in a position to maybe not succeed. And it's the little things like that. So let's move on to technical skills next. I also did want to point out I did like the point you made about the mentoring. I think that that's a really great piece to add in there because again it's giving you a feel of who the person is, somebody that's interested in doing that stuff and working as a team and helping other people grow is bonus points in my book. Technical skills, moving on to that. How we saw this yesterday too, where somebody else listed it as expert, proficient, and familiar. What's your take on the ranking system? For me, I don't love it.
Yeah, I would say, well, before we even get to like that last line in the professional summary, it's a
Mm,
wasted line for me because I don't even know what planet blah 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 is. So
yeah.
now at this point, if I'm moving fast, I may not go look that up. I may
Mm,
go look it up, and I may like what I see. So it may be irrelevant. Like you're putting a
yeah.
lot of stock into that one thing versus something else. Moving on to the technical skills, I look at this as all like the thing your college professor tells you to do from a 1980s, template. Like Word, Excel's like, stop, come on. You know what I mean? Like to me, this technical skills thing, I think it's a great thing to do to match the algorithm. So I think for the machines, you might be able to hit the keywords.
Yeah.
But to me, when you list these things, you give me permission to go deep on these questions. Most people don't know SQL. Most people don't know how to do outer join. Most people don't understand what an explain plan is. So if you put expert in SQL there, you're going to have a problem. If you put expert Git there and you can't talk about porcelain, the thing underneath the Git command line
Mm,
tool, don't put Docker there and I'm reading it. Oh, so I don't know if you really need to put the expert because again, you're almost boxing yourself in unnecessarily. I think you're better off just saying, I have experience with these things.
hmm
I would rather you use words like, I prefer these technologies, meaning I'm really excited about these. Like if I ever get to a place where I can write Golang, I'm letting you know I'm really excited. I do like the familiar with because it's kind of like a very humbling, like, hey, I've kind of used these before. But
Hmm.
what these keywords do is it almost lets me know it's like, okay, these are the areas where it's fair game to get super deep and technical. You put it out there, you've opened that door, and I'm going to walk through it. So I'm not a fan of the expert proficient stuff, but I'm like, hey, these are the keywords that we're going to dive in on.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree with that. I think, again, it goes back to that number up in the professional summary. We're just kind of opening up opportunities for somebody to poke holes in your potential. I totally agree with you there. Let's move down to professional experience. When you're looking at a professional experience summary of someone's proof of work here, what are some key points that you're looking for and how this is written out?
Honestly, the words that I just got to go back to is activities versus impact. So to me right now, deliver end-to-end solutions under NDA, align technical potential with business, that's nothing. You said nothing. Wasted line. Create Docker-based development environments, perform cross-load testing, nothing. You said nothing. Provide SDLC consultancy recommend. You said nothing. So here, you didn't even really list the activities. You just said kind of nothing. So for me, trying to figure out whether you're going to be a good fit on the team, so let's try to rewrite this in real time.
Yeah.
So what I would probably do is say, hey, I'm trying to talk about the impact. And so when I came in, it took 2 to 3 weeks for people to get development environments stood up. So this line, you could say things like reduce development environment stand-up time by 80% by leveraging Docker-based environments for cross-platform load testing. So now I know the impact. You reduced the setup time for these development environments by 80%. So now when I see you in person, I want to talk through that. So, hey, what were they doing before? And it gives you a chance to tell the stories like, hey, they were doing this, they were doing that. So what I did is I saw an opportunity for Docker to come in and provide value. So now I understand that you're picking technologies not based on resume driven development. You're picking technologies based on what they can actually do, and you've proved that you can do it. So I would like to see a little bit more results, impact, not just activities.
Yeah, the activity to impact, I think, is a very big one. And again, when I feel like when you have kind of these fluff sentences that aren't really giving us information, again, it's sort of allowing somebody to ask questions. I don't feel like the person's directing the potential interview out of this. Where if they're citing those specific examples, like you mentioned, then a recruiter or a hiring manager is going to see that specific thing and talk to that specific point. If somebody is familiar with a Docker-based development environment, they could really, for example, yourself, you have a ton of questions and ways to poke holes in what that person said. So again, just sort of navigating how you want an interview or somebody to see your information, I think that that's super important. Going back down to back-end engineer here, it seems like kind of similar. I do see some numbers. Led major streamlined the development processes by 35%. How do you feel about quantitative data like that?
Yeah, like I said, it's better than nothing. So I know that there's a baseline there. So led major API integration delivering real-time GPS data and asset tracking for mission critical systems. So here's the thing where it's like, what is mission critical here? Are we talking about airline industry? Is this healthcare? Is this military? What is mission critical? I think people use it quite a bit, but I kind of do like this sentence more than some of the other sentences I saw so far. So I'm
Yeah.
going to give a little credit here. But let's get to like maintain automated deployment pipelines and version control using Bitbucket, Docker, and SQL. And so when I look at this, like, all right, these are activities, right? So, I don't know what maintain mean. Maybe there's an error, the bill fails, you jump in, you turn it green. Do you troubleshoot these pipelines? When you say maintain, do you add just new steps whenever there's like a new repository and someone wants another pipeline built? Is that something you do? So when I read that one, it's more like, okay, this person's probably responding to things when they happen, right? What I want to see here is more like, hey, improved our pipeline efficiency and reduce failure rates by blah, blah, blah. Or reduce the number of turned off tests or reduce the flake tests, right? And expedient, things like that. I want to see some type of impact from your work. So if I need someone to maintain my Deployment pipelines, I may ask more questions like, what did you do specifically to maintain them? So that's a good chance. Like, I may not get to talk to you again. This might be the only conversation we have. So maybe tell me a little bit more about exactly what you did to maintain these things, right? Did you set up some type of metrics to decide when a particular pipeline needed maintenance versus one that wasn't? Did you set up a deprecation policy for certain build steps to bring them into compliance with the way the company would like to do things? So give me a little bit more meat about exactly what you did to maintain these particular pipelines.
I love that question coming in. What if one doesn't really know their impact, even as an estimation? How would you tackle that?
This is the perfect question because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not really learning much at this job. Like, if you can't answer what the impact of your work is, you can spend more time in that particular role. Ask your manager, say, hey, why are we doing this? Why are we maintaining these pipelines? Like, hey, Kelsey, when these pipelines don't get maintained, what we find is that more bugs go to production. How many more bugs? We see about 75% more bugs go to production when we don't maintain our pipeline. There you have it. Now you know what the impact. Or another way you can do this is, what happens if we don't do this? Right? Hey, we need you to update the docs. What happened if we don't do this? Well, we're going to have more outages. Well, if we have an outage, what's the impact of that? Well, every time we have an outage on this platform, it costs us about $1 million a minute. Now you start to understand the impact of the work you're doing. So if you're not quite sure how to quantize the work, you can ask like your manager. If they're not sure, ask the director. But there's got to be someone that says, why are we doing this? For example, if a hurricane is coming, why are we boarding up these windows? If someone says, well, I'm boarding up these windows because I don't like the sun shining into my home, you're like, hey, there's a better way of doing this. We could just use shades instead of boarding up the windows. But if you tell me there's a hurricane coming, now I understand the value and impact of boarding up the windows, right? So you just kind of get to understanding why you're doing stuff, then it becomes much easier to explain the impact of what you've done.
I love that. Great questions. So just looks like kind of a similar flow here. I do see some more data in his next couple entries. We go to a second page. We had education and certifications. This is a little bit of a polarizing topic, especially when it kind of comes to resumes, because again, I think the way this can be presented can work really well or be a negative impact. Looking at this one, like what's your feedback on this and what are your viewpoints?
So here's where I like to take risks with things like this. And I did this when I was being promoted to principal engineer at Google. So before distinguished engineer to go to principal engineer, I actually broke protocol and stopped doing the advised templated stuff to report your accomplishments. I actually started writing in a different way. And people were like, Kelsey, I don't know if this is going to work. Because I was literally talking to the reviewers like, hey, you're probably reading this packet. This is probably your 50th packet of the week. Look, I'm going to tell you the impact that I did. And I started talking that way. So what would I like to see here? I would try to be risky and say, look, I got a CompTIA certification. Here's why I'm glad I took the certification. And here's how I've used it in practice. So I took the a Security Plus certification. Here's what I learned from it. Here's how I leveraged it in practice. So my formatting would be different than all other candidates. Hey, I went to the University of Pennsylvania. I took computational thinking. Here's what I've learned, and here's how I've been using what I've learned since. So imagine a section that looks like that. So if I see that formatting, I'm like, wow, I've never seen anyone else format it this way, and you've literally read my mind. What's the University of Pennsylvania famous for? What'd you learn there? Has any of it been useful? You might say, hey, the thing I've been using the most from the University of Pennsylvania, we took a class on operating systems and memory management. I've used that to fine tune the JVM in production because I understand how operatings and runtimes, leverage memory management systems. I'm like, wow, this is dope. So now you understand the investments, like Duke University, very prestigious university. I didn't really think about them as a company, as a university with a good engineering or software development program. So you just put Java programming and software design. I don't know. Like, did you do any key projects at Duke? Is there something that you really learned? Did you have a really cool professor? Like, hey, I learned under Professor blah, blah, blah. And he really taught me how to really think about software design. So for one of my projects, we did XYZ. And here's how I've been using it in the last 4 years, all my other experience. So I would probably take a risk here, break from the norm, and show why these educational things were valuable to me because I know that's going to be your mindset going forward. When I hire you and we give you advantage of taking, or we give you the opportunity to go take more certifications, I know you're going to be strategic with your choices and not waste our money.
I love that. That's solid feedback on that whole section right there. Volunteer and leadership. I think this speaks to your empathy and humanizing the resume part where these are super important. So is this something that you usually look for? Like if somebody doesn't include these things or maybe is missing them, is that almost a red flag for you?
No, I'm okay if it's not there, but if you're going to put it there, I need you to understand what community is. So if you're going to say community engagement, coordinating with speakers organized to deliver community tech events, that's not, you can hire that. I know a lot of people who outsource that work to third parties and they don't really care anything about those communities. They just deal with the logistics of it all. So what I would like to see here, if I were to read something like this, is like, hey, the community has had this impact on my career as someone who's gone to university. I will say the far majority of the things that I've learned have come from this community. So here's how I participate in that community. I believe getting together in person is important, even if it's virtual in some cases. And so to help with that, I have helped speakers, especially new speakers, put together good content. So now helping new speakers starts to rhyme or is consistent with your mentoring of junior people. So I'm like, okay, there's very few people that take the time to help people learn how to communicate. Organize. I show up at these events, help people pick good topics, make sure things run on time, and just make sure that there's a place for people to exchange new ideas with each other. Now I know what's going to be when you join the team. You're going to be making sure that the team actually has a community, even if it's only 5 people on the team. So give me a little bit more meat there so I can actually, in my brain, draw the movie out. I want to be able to see you doing what you're saying and be like, yo, so when I meet you, I want to be like, I feel like I know you already. Right? That's the opportunity you have with sections like these.
Yeah, I love that point. Overall, it looks like we end here with that section. Great. So if everybody scan the QR code here, head over to the rate page, or if you're already there, go ahead and start dropping your numbers in. And then Kelsey, we do this out of 5. It's you can add a decimal point if you'd like. But I wanna get your feedback out of 5. Where are you ranking this as far as need for improvement and presentation of information?
I'm gonna say it's probably on a lower scale for me. It's not even, I wouldn't say average, because after reading this information, I don't remember this person. Like, so after going through all of this, I close my eyes and ask myself, who is this person? And I'm just drawing a blank. Right? This person hasn't really doubled down on a particular set of skills. They haven't really doubled. So I would say one thing, this person seems to have some connection with the community, is willing to participate. But I can't really say, man, this person's probably really good at this particular set of skills. We bring them in, it's going to be the missing piece. Like when you're building out a team, I'm really trying to figure out what am I getting. And right now, they're presenting themselves like this Swiss Army knife at a very high level and very generic, where it's like, whether I hire this person or one out of the next 10,000, I'm not sure if it's going to probably make a big difference on paper.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. I think to your points that you made well early on, there's just a couple parts here where you have an opportunity to shine more on like your skill and who you are, and take out some of these points where it's like, well, now I'm kind of setting myself up for a loaded question that if you do even get the opportunity to speak to someone, could be the last time you do. So let's see what the audience is rating. 2.3. Does that sound about like where you were thinking? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. Perfect. Well, hopefully that helps. It does look like we had some feedback from Paladin as well. So hopefully that helps, and feel free to send it when you update it too. We're here to help.
Hey,
you.
so Paladin, if you're listening to this, I would say this, like there's a chance to create consistency and cohesiveness. If you say you're expert with Git, Docker, C#, then some of your projects should demonstrate where you've used those skills, right? So like in the work where you did with the pipeline, you could say, look, I've used Git to reduce how much data we're pulling from GitHub, reducing our data networking bill. I'm using Docker to get consistent pipelines and reducing, like so many ways you can look at this and say, all right, do I really need to put C sharp if I really don't want to write C sharp? Or if I haven't even done anything impactful with C sharp in a long time that's worth mentioning. So I might actually reduce a few of those keywords if they don't really add value to the body of the work, right? So maybe think about it that way. Create some consistency, give me a theme that I can follow. So when I put the resume down, it's like, yo, this person is a good full end-to-end back-end engineer. They can actually handle CI/CD pipelines, and they're not afraid to mentor the team. That's a really nice statement to kind of put together.
I love that. All right, moving on. We're going to Daniel Hopkins. Daniel, if you're here, which I believe you are, go ahead and give us a shout in the chat. Oh, that's you. Perfect. All right. Well, we'll start at the top. We've got Daniel. We go right into his professional summary. I feel like just based on your feedback on the last one, that a bulleted professional summary isn't, again, going to kind of tell you the narrative you want about the person.
Actually, so I look at this email address. You got the best one you could get. It looks like you want me to take you seriously. No problem. 10 years of overall engineering experience, straight to the point. Now, in this case, 10 years, that's diamond, right? So I'm just going to assume a decade of experience. You've probably seen enough. You've seen a lot. And now I'm going to judge the rest of your resume to see if it adds up to a decade of experience. 8+ years of .NET development, I don't love that. It's unnecessary. It's actually taken away from the other thing, in my opinion.
Oh.
So, because like 8 years of .NET is not even, it doesn't even matter. You're OG, you decade in, .NET is no longer relevant. I don't care if you write .NET or Java at this point, you have a decade of experience. There are things way more important than a particular programming language for someone with a decade of experience. BS in computer science information doesn't belong there either. You've been graduated, and then you're a decade in. This is the least important thing on the resume now, because now your experience is supposed to dominate now, right? You use education when you don't have experience, right?
Love that. Yeah.
Experience developing, supporting platform 100,000+ users in revenue. But hey, yeah, like now now I'm talking to scale. So I like that. So that last bullet point, the first bullet point, they set the tone. The two in the middle, they conflict. Why are we talking about college 10 years later? It's over. Like some people still talking about high school when they're 30. You're like, bro, high school was a while ago for you. We got to move on. We got to go to other things.
I love that point. I mean, the information just kind of bounces around there, like you said. We had a question come in. What percentage of your resume should we be tailoring? I'm working on mine, and it looks like it would be about 40%. Is that too much? I think we've talked about this before, where if you're submitting a resume for a specific role, you should make sure that the information there is catering to that specific role. So I think that's what the question's in regards to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of tailoring the whole thing, but again, I come from a world where I expect a human is going to read it. I'm putting my best shot forward. So I know why, if you're maybe you have one resume for the algorithm, where that's not tailored, you're just trying to game the system and get through the door. But I'm still betting on me. And that means when I put my resume together, like for example, if I'm going to go speak at a Python meetup, then I'm bringing the Python engineer resume with me to match what I'm going to present about myself, because that's also part of the interview process, is the things that you do out in everyday life. You know what I mean? So if I know that I'm emailing a particular company or someone gave me a referral, that thing's going to be hyper optimized for the situation.
I love that. Right down to work experience. We've got Agate Software. This is one thing that we've talked about a couple times in the past, is having like just a little blurb as to what the actual company does. Is that just to kind of give context of what the actual engineer is doing at the place? How do you feel about that?
I love that. Right there, that's a good sign. I understand where I'm working. Mm-hmm. I kind of understand what my business is all about. And that to me right now is like, it's matching that 10 years. That 10 years starting to match. So that was a good starting point. I get it. So I like that formatting. And actually, I was like, what the hell is Agate Software? It's like, bam, that's what it is. So now I can keep moving. upgraded and maintain IntelliGrant's grant management platform with over 100,000 users. So to me, again, this is an activity, right? That is a clear activity. What is the impact of this? So if you told me that, let's say there was a CSAT score, right? Users, before you started working on this, you had like a 50% satisfactory rating. With you came in and you kind of helped optimize like tuning, right? Number one response from our users was the platform was slow. So what I did was I tuned it. I tuned the JVM parameters. We moved it to slightly bigger servers, and we increased network throughput by XYZ. And we tuned disk I/O to make sure that blobs loaded faster from disk by improving the caching on disk. So now you've talked about the impact. CSAT scores have been up 30%. We went from 50% to 70%. And here's the things that I did to move the needle on the CSAT scores. Because, that phrase, latency kills. And it's like, yeah, but latency isn't just one metric. It may take 10 things to do it. So if I would see you put the impact here, and then the impact of the activities to support the impact, in my brain it's like, okay, this person understands what needs to happen. Why are you maintaining the system? Because someone told me to. Okay, that's a junior mindset, no problem. We need some of those on the team. But for 10-year veteran, I want you to understand the work you're doing, because you're going to have to choose between, do I do this opportunity or this one? So again, activities versus impact strikes again.
Yeah, I love that. And again, this is a different set of eyes looking at this. I mean, the story that you're kind of inferring off of some of these data points, this is how people are seeing it. So it's good to look at this objectively, where if something mentioned like that can make you seem like you are not as experienced as you are, again, there it is. So, all right, back to the similar pattern with the bullet points. And then we move on to his next web developer role. Again, he does have the description here, which I think is great.
A plus on the descriptions.
Yeah, definitely. Then we go down to programming languages and technologies. We don't have it based on skill, which I think is good. How do you feel about this layout? A little bit better, in my opinion.
Yeah, so to me, like languages like C Sharp, JavaScript, SQL. So when I see HTML and CSS, those are respectable technologies. Don't let nobody tell y'all different. But I don't know, man. Like those are, after 10 years, I don't know if those are the ones that I'm going to put up there, because if I go back to the resume, I'm sure we're going to find something that kind of stands out a little bit. So your first 1 or 2 years, HTML, CSS, no problem. That matches. After that, what I would probably want to see here is more like on the language side, 2 or 3 is good. Hey, C Sharp, JavaScript, that's me, right? And SQL, that's me. Technologies, Git, Visual Studio, SQL Server, I don't know about that, man. Like for me, at the 10-year mark, the technologies I really want to see here are the 10-year veteran technologies. Where are the debugging tools? Surely you're debugging things at your level, especially some of the things that you said you help maintain and fine tune. I want to see what debuggers, right? So this is a chance to say, you know what? Junior people probably aren't that great with a debugger. When I see someone show me the debugging, like, yo, you should see me with a debugger. I'm like, woo, that separates you from the pack. Profilers, right? How memory's being used by the runtime separates from you the pack. Hell, you can even say Chrome developer. The developer tools that Chrome has built in. Anybody that's good with that, I know they're at the next level. So I'd rather see that than HTML and CSS, right? What about the networking stuff? So maybe a little bit more well-roundedness to try to match the years of experience. Like you're kind of doubling down on .NET Core. I think that's okay. So frameworks, I like that addition, because it kind of lets me know that you're building much bigger apps. You're not writing everything from scratch. You're familiar with the lay of the land. So I actually do like that one. But Visual Studio, I don't know if I'm going to waste the space with Visual Studio, because I don't really care what IDE you pick when you're kind of a senior person here. So that's what my feedback there. Like make it count. Make everything there count.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I'm glad you pointed out the HTML and CSS specifically. I think we've noticed a trend of putting those types of things for keyword searches, but I got to be honest, I don't think a recruiter's ever going to look for somebody that has HTML on their thing, especially if it is for an experienced engineer. So I think it is just a wasted line, personally. So I agree with that. Then we go back down to education. We've got our associates and then a bachelor's in computer information science. Very simple. I personally like the layout of this. I think it reads really well. So I think presentation of information wise, it's good. If you guys want to start dropping your ratings in, and Kelsey, go ahead and give us your overall.
You know what? This gonna be in that
Yeah.
3.5 arena, because if you were to put impact, we get in a 4 pretty quick, right? So I would say I think I can kind of remember Daniel a little bit more, but I think the thing is I just don't know what impact Daniel's made. I know he's a strong .NET person, so if I'm a Microsoft shop or I'm doing some .NET development, I think Daniel can come in to the team and kind of help out, but I don't really know what the impact's going to be. You know, I don't know if the resume really reflects the 10 years of experience.
Yeah. We had a question here. How do you feel about methodologies section instead of just tech? A/B testing, TDD, etc.
You could put that, but to me, it's like, so what's the impact of doing that? I know some people that don't write any tests and they make a lot of impact. So to me, I'm like, spend your time giving me the impact. And if you're saying that the methodologies helped you get there, no problem. So let me give you an example. I hate when people give advice and no examples. If you say, hey, implemented Scrum, okay? I know a lot of people that hate Scrum. But if you say, hey, the team has consistently missed every ship date by on average of 2 weeks. Every release has shipped on average of 2 weeks late. We've gotten back to on target by implementing methodologies that match and align with the team's actual bandwidth, including Scrum, Kanban, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. So now it's like, oh, so you brought in the right methodology for the team because you recognized the problem first. You didn't just get there and they were doing that already and you're just trying to take credit for it. You didn't just copy and paste from some other organization and then layer it on top. You actually understood, like, you know what, based on our situation, if we just borrowed a few ideas from Scrum, right? I give you even more points if you told me we borrowed a few ideas from Scrum, not all of it, just like 75% of it was a perfect match for my team.
I like that. Dan's actually asking a question, and we've seen this one before too. One thing he was wondering is, does having a computer information systems degree hurt me versus computer science?
I don't care. Like, for me, I literally don't care at all, because if you show me impact, I'm not even caring about what college you went to at all. The people who have a lot of impact, let me give you a secret, they usually don't have room for the education part. I'm out here cooking. I don't even have, what college did LeBron James go to? Don't know. Right? After about 10 years in professional leagues, I don't remember, because you out here killing them. I know what college Johnny Manziel went to because he wasn't in the league very long. So I think it's one of those things where I want the biggest credential on your resume to be you. Not what college you went to, not what company you work for. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I worked at Google. Do I get any points for that? It's like, not really. I like that. But if your accomplishments there don't stand out, I want to remember you, not the college you went to.
Yeah, great feedback. All right, let's see. I'm saying about a 3.5 as well. I'm in line with you on that. Let's see where everybody else landed. 3.5. So we're right on. We are right on today, folks. Happy Friday. Kelsey, it is Friday. I know you said you're not keeping track of the days of the week. Lucky you. It is Friday, just so you know. All right, let's go back.
Hey,
Next
Daniel,
one.
I know that you're on. Daniel, don't be afraid to shine. I think what I had to tell myself one time was, it's okay to shine. And I know it can be hard because most people do not like to brag about themselves. But I think you got to try to take that thing up a notch, give it to someone you trust, let them humble you a little bit, get it closer to reality. Don't start lying on your resume, but don't start hiding the truth either.
Yeah, great point. Luke had said he agreed that the place doesn't matter as much, but my degree in engineering specifically has changed the way I think fundamentally and is worth mentioning. I think to Luke's point, you're also a junior or trying to break in. I think when you have that 10 years of experience, that seems to have a lot less relevance. As all that work and the impact builds up, it falls further down that like significance ladder. So I think for you, especially in that case, it is worth mentioning for sure.
So
But
I want to address that comment. So
yeah, yeah.
yes, your engineering degree changed the way you think, but you got to prove it. When you show me all your experience and the things you've done there, that's your chance to show me, well, exactly how did it make you think different? If you have an engineering mindset, you can say, hey, before I started this project, the first thing I did was get some metrics to understand what our baseline was. Once I had my baseline in place, then I took these actions until I saw the baseline meet the target goal. Then I stopped to pivot to the next project. Wow, that's a great engineering mindset because you kind of know how to make sure you're making an impact and measure that impact along the way. So exactly right, but just tell me exactly that in your impact areas.
There you go. Nice. Good feedback too, Luke. Good conversation there. All right, we're moving over to Olawatobi. Right out of the jump, a little different intro for the top part of the resume here. I don't hate it. I feel like it kind of gives me a little bit of a personality hit. And it's not so different that it detracts from anything. Going into it, what are your first thoughts?
So I look at this and say, okay, that's one hell of a Gmail email. Like this person's been on the internet for a minute to get that one. So all right, early mover in the game. I look at the keywords and say, okay, I see a lot of programming languages here. I'm not sure if MySQL or Postgres is a language, so I'm a little worried. But maybe they're hinting that those are the dialects of SQL they're familiar with. So I'm going to give them bonus points to understand that there are different dialects of SQL. So I'm going to be positive here and say, all right, great. Back in, I see Node.js. I'm like, man, I don't know, man. Like you had a chance to put Golang. It was right there. You put in the language. It was just right there. But it does tell me a story about this person. This person really does matter, picking up various technologies to get the job done. I like the fact that they put cloud and DevOps. Like, yo, I got another set of skills. I'm understanding the platform side. Like this is one of the first resumes where we actually talked about some of the infrastructure components. So right now I just see a wide range of things, but if one thing sticks out, this person seems to be strong on the data side. When I see things like RabbitMQ, gRPC in terms of a protocol for efficiently passing data around, this is pretty cool. I say, all right, this person is well-rounded, but jack of all trades is the vibe I'm getting. What I wish they would do with the soft skills part, those aren't soft skills. Those are really hard skills. And what I would probably do is try to highlight how these are your standout skills. These are the skills that really help you be an effective engineer. Because when you have the ability to kind of advocate for a particular approach of doing things, that's what I want to see. So when you say you're an excellent communicator, then I need to see that. So give me some links to some blog posts. Give me your best blog post that you put up. Give me your best talk so I can validate whether you're an excellent communicator or not. Because I can go watch that. Like if you put excellent communicator, I'm actually going to spend the time to watch the link that you provide so I can be the judge whether you have excellent communication skills or not. It could even be feedback that you've given on GitHub issues, right? Your ability to do code reviews and some commit messages I've seen that are stellar. I want to see those things. So they're not soft skills. These are your standout skills that kind of separate you from the pack. So I would probably kind of word it that way.
Yeah, I mean, to your point that you've brought up earlier too, is if someone's putting that they have excellent communication skills, I would want to see the proof because I would question that. Anybody that claims to have that, I want to see it. I want to see the actual skill at work. So whether it's a talk or, like you said, any GitHub issues where they're commenting things out or feedback between teams, stuff like that, I think is super important. And again, if it's not there and someone's claiming that they are excellent at something, and then it kind of conflicts with what we interpret from the rest of this, like, again, it's just an unnecessary red flag.
And you also just set yourself up for another problem.
Yeah.
Your resume better be spectacular. Because you said
Yeah.
excellent communication skills, verbal and written.
And detail oriented.
Yeah, so woo, your resume better be dope.
Oh boy. All right. Well, let's find out. We're going down to experience.
All right, back in engineer, geo transport platform. So now this is where not giving a description of these companies is hurting you. I have no idea what this company does. I don't know if it was important or not, small or not. So now I'm kind of lost. So, and also I like the way we're doing this. We've just gone through a few resumes. So in my mind, I'm now ranking you against the resume I just read. I'm expecting certain things now. I'm expecting a summary of the company you work for so that you say you understand the business. So right now, in my mind, the other person's ahead. Right out the gate.
Yeah.
And that's how most people are reviewing these interviews. They're not reviewing yours as a standalone. So now you kind of got to go put that there so I can understand. So logistics and ride hailing, that's a little bit, but maybe just give me that one sentence about what they do. Architected and delivered REST API serving 10,000 daily bookings, contributing 20% revenue increase. I like that. Like, to me, it's not perfect in terms of impact, but I kind of get an idea what you did, and that 20% of revenue increase sets the tone for when we have a phone conversation or a follow-up conversation. So I like that. Optimize database models and implemented structured JSON handling. Yes, you now back in the game. Like now I'm understanding. This to me, look, you didn't even put 10 years of expectation. So here's the value of not putting years of experience. I don't know if you have 2 years of experience or 10 years of experience, but reading this first set of bullet points, I got you at least 10 plus years of experience. I don't even know if that's true or not, but the way you've listed your impact, I'm putting you as the most experienced that we've reviewed so far. Right? Yeah. So that's the thing that you got the latitude of having here.
Here's another question. How do you get that 20% number? Do we guess at the impact if we can't get hard numbers?
So this is exactly what I'm going to ask you in the interview. When you show up with these numbers, I'm going to say, how did you get to 20% numbers? Here's what I want to hear. Here's what we did. Before we started the project, we looked at the current revenue numbers from existing customers over the last 2-year period so that we can see that things had kind of petered out. We looked at customer feedback. Our UX team, they run these surveys. We said, what's the number one problem you have with our APIs? Number one, your APIs are XML based. We don't like that. This is why we don't use them as much. We would prefer that you have REST APIs. And then we asked customers, can you point us to some great APIs that you actually like? Many of our customers pointed us to, APIs from GitHub, APIs from companies like Stripe, and things like that. So what we did is we came up with a plan, and we decided that we're going to move to RESTful APIs, and we had drivers for this, that, and the other. And we came up with our APIs based on the most called endpoints from our previous APIs, and we had to roll them out. So what we did was then we started measuring. And what we did was we added the additional net new revenue from those new APIs. We even used a client header to delineate from the old API to the new API. And what we saw and hard data suggests that the new API accounts for net new 20% of revenue. Okay? We're not just making stuff up. That's what professionals do, because that's how they justify the impact of the work, and they have no problem getting funding for their team when they need extra people to come in and execute. So that's how I think you can get to that 20% number, or that's the answer that's the type of answer you got to have when I start to question the results.
I like that. So moving on through the experience, it looks like it maintains a very similar writing style. We've got some specific impact in certain things, but I mean, I would say that some of these probably could use a little bit more detail as well at the same time. Going into page 2, we're still in experience, technical writer, I work for SourceGraph. Nice. Okay. Software engineer.
So let's go to the technical writer one, right?
Yeah, go for it.
So it shows a varying degree of like skills, right? You had different job roles. This one's different than the other ones. This is a good opportunity to explain what SourceGraph does. And then if you publish technical article, like one article, right? That's it. So you were there for, looks like about 6 months, and you produce one article. That's what this reads like. Yeah. And so that's going to be a challenge. So even if that's true, you got to spice it up or just take it off. Maybe you just leave this one off completely if you don't have a lot to talk about here.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing because, I mean, this doesn't read flattery. You publish technical article, reaching developer community. I mean, I feel like Yeah, I would probably also leave it off. I agree with you. But again, now I'm also going back to excellent communication and verbal skills. So now again, I'm kind of trying to figure out where those are in this experience, and if that's part of the technical writing. Like, I don't feel like that was written to kind of bring me back up to that point that you made. Um, let's see, technical writer, software engineer, back to software engineer. So we have a couple more years. So been working for a few years. That's great. And then we have down to education and publications and projects. How do you feel about a publications and projects section?
These are good. Give me some
Mm,
links. I
yeah.
want to go read these things so I can make a case. If I click on the link for published articles today, like give me a link to your top one or two so I can see what the value they bring. Guest author for Sourcegraph on Node.js. You got to give me a link, right? And I think that link will do all the speaking for you. So I would
Hmm.
like to see that. Like speed test, a CLI based feature for a speed testing tool, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, just kind of give me a link to some of these things. I think that's fine just to go and let me go check it out to see what impact you've made. But this is a lot of space you're spending on things without links. So if this is important to you, I would probably justify this section. It's like, hey, in addition to my work history, I really do value open source, open source contributions. So here are some of the top open source projects that I've contributed to or the maintainer of. So just give me that, like, hey, I'm gonna justify this section. Here's a collection of things that I do. I like to share with other people.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is something that I kind of harp on. If you, and maybe they had the links up at the top, I'm not going to scroll back up to the top if I want to see these specific things right now. So this is another like really simple missed opportunity that we see a lot of. If you're speaking about specific projects or publications, put the links here. Also, though, this is making me question your involvement with this contribution here because it said you were a guest author. So was this freelance perhaps then? And then again, it's like it's kind of conflicting information with a bunch of other pieces. I would just take it off because now it's just making me like, okay, I'm doing thinking in the wrong direction for you. That's what it is for me
And
at
Alex,
least.
Alex brought up a really good point. Like, if you actually have hard numbers, like if you can reduce your
Mm,
CI/CD pipeline from 30 minutes to 3 minutes, say that exactly. Right, there's some things you can't really say, like revenue numbers can get you in trouble. So I can see why people use percentages there. But yeah, when you have obvious wins like, reduce memory by 2 gigs per instance, right? A lot of people can do that math. But yeah, 30 minutes to 3 minutes, that says a whole lot, and it helps people to understand what that means in a really good way. So that's a really good point.
Shout out to Lawrence. I love Lawrence. It's the homie. It's good to see you, man. All right, then we have some blockchain documentation, and that's it. Okay, so give us your overall, and everybody knows what to do now. Go ahead and put your ratings in.
I mean, I think this is going to probably still be in that three
Mm,
category because there's a little gotchas that took points away. Like
mm,
the whole got non-related experience in there, like the blockchain documentation. Why is that there?
mm.
Nowhere else do you mention that. You just got it as a thing. So you're just kind of wasting space. The time at that one company for 6 months, there's nothing wrong with being there for 6 months, but what impact did you make in 6 months? So it doesn't really line up. And also, the other thing that's kind of putting you at a three, I love the fact that you've given me an attempt at impact. You can clean that up. But we've seen a consistent theme. No one's, you're spending all of this time at the top of the resume telling me about all these skills. And then when I scroll down, I'm not seeing where those skills are put into action.
Mm.
So to me, I'd rather have way less skills at the top, or maybe only mention the skills that you're going to actually articulate what you've done with those skills. So I think just make sure that you're thinking about a resume end to end consistency. Do the things at the top support the things at the bottom? Right? And if they don't, it's okay. Let me take this role off. It's not going to hurt or help anything. Let me remove it off and use that space to give more detail about impact.
Yeah, that I agree. I'm gonna say a 3-3. I feel like again by positioning yourself as an excellent communicator, I didn't see it. When people use keywords like that, I feel like maybe it's just me, but I feel like some people will literally just try to prove you wrong. So, and again, why would I want to put myself in that position if I am trying to get this role? So, I'm going to say 3-3. Let's see what everybody else said. We've got a couple votes in here. 2.3. Okay, so they're being a little more brutal than we are, which I can appreciate. See, and that's at the end of the day, like that's what we need. We need that honest feedback. Would you call this person, Kelsey, if this came across your desk for a potential at least screener call?
Uh, Let me see. Scroll down. I would call this person. Honestly, nah. This is gonna go in
No.
the. I don't remember this person bucket. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't. There's nothing memorable, and that's the thing. I think you guys gotta say, read your resume, step away, or actually ask someone you know to read your resume, put it down, and say, describe this person. And if they can't come up with something easy, then your resume isn't helping that. So you almost got to kind of pick a theme. You know, like there's video games where they have like first person shooter, you have tech trees where you can go and be a mech warrior, you can be a stealth person. You almost got to figure out what parts of the tech tree do I want to highlight. And this is why I think it's so important to try to tailor it for the role. Because when you try to throw everything up there, I may not remember anything.
Yeah, I love Lawrence coming in here too. Step one, who am I? Step two, does my resume scream that and remove all doubt?
100%.
Totally. So what's one thing that you noticed out of the three that we looked at that is something that just all of them were maybe missing? Like what was that one piece? And I think you already alluded to it, but just scream it from the top of the mountain right now for everybody.
Commit to who you are. Right now, these resumes say, I will be anything you want me to be. And I'm no one special. I will be whoever you want me to be. You say jump, I'll say how high. And I get it because that's probably where you are, and I get it. It's real world out here. But man, do something to say, yo, this is who I am. I am the best person you've seen do CI/CD in a long time. I'm meticulous about my pipelines. I articulate and document the hell about my pipelines. I'm not afraid of setting standards. I'm not afraid of adjusting the way we do things after building consensus with the team. I can't just come in and be a wrecking ball. I'm going to meet with the team, listen to the team, measure things, and then I'm going to know how to make an impact. That's who I am. And I want your resumes to do that. If SQL's your thing, be like, I'm a software developer that loves SQL. I think SQL was the best invention since the internet. Why? Because SQL allows us to structure our data and have consistency in our applications. And then you can show work. You say, hey, ripped out a bunch of custom data management code from all of our apps by 50,000 lines of code and moved it into the database by using database functions, schemas, maybe store procedures if that's your thing. See, that's the kind of thing that says, all right, this person has a philosophy and here's how they approach that philosophy and make an impact.
Wow. There it is, folks. I think that this one was probably our best one of the week. I'm being a little biased, but I feel like this data and this feedback that everybody received was really powerful. Shout out to Kelsey for just coming to hang out with us for 60 minutes of his time on a Friday. Shout out to the audience here. See Lawrence and everybody that came up too, like putting your resumes in front of other people like this, like takes some bravery, but I think a lot more people need to do that to be able to grow. Like stepping out of the comfort zone and then also allowing other people to see the mistakes you made to maybe not make them is a great way to learn and build in public and to help the community. So thanks to everybody. Kelsey, any closing thoughts? Where can we see you next? When's your next talk?
Man, I'm all over the world, man. I should be better at promoting some of this stuff. But you know what? I'll produce a page at some point, maybe post them on Blue Sky. But I do about 14 to 15 keynotes a year. The platform cons, I'll be in Paris. I'll be at CIVO Navigate in September. I'll be at a container event in Berlin. And so I'll be around. A KubeCon in November is going to be in Atlanta. It's one of my favorite events of all time. So if you want to come to a huge, really nice tech event, KubeCon is one that I don't miss. I'll actually be giving a keynote in Vegas at the Cockroach DB conference. I love those guys. I love what they've done in the open source world. So yeah, I'll be around.
Awesome. Well, everybody go check out Kelsey's Blue Sky. Go check him out in person. Go shake his hand. I mean, this man has been very influential to my journey. I got to share that story with him at Render this year because we met for the first time a year ago. Then we got to circle back and see each other again, so it was cool. Everybody else can reach out to me in the Torque Discord, which is available here at torque.community. And we're always taking resume submissions and trying to help, LinkedIn reviews, stuff like that. At the end of the day, the goal is to help you all find the job you're looking for. So if you found this valuable, make sure you share it, repost it, and we'll see you. We'll see you in a couple minutes. We have a Discord event coming up momentarily here. So thanks again to the audience. Thanks again to Kelsey, and we'll talk soon. If I can figure out how to close this banner. There we go. All right, cool. Bye. How you feel?